Yeah, alright. So this is the review of the first 6 cards of Whispers of the Old Gods by me, of course, yours truly, Cloud9 Ekup. And yeah, the 6 cards that have been revealed yesterday before the winter prelims, as you can see on screen, they are pretty exciting. And you can see the theme of this whole set, as was already announced, is the old gods, their whispers corrupting the heroes of Warcraft and whatnot. And we have like reimaginings of a couple of popular cards. And of course we got the old gods themselves, the Cthulhu, as you can see, and cards that synergize with it. So let's jump right into it. Like, yeah, let's start off with Cthulhu, the main theme of this set, basically. 10 mana, 6/6, Battlecry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack, randomly split amongst all enemies. So the comparison can be drawn towards Rafaam, Archstave Rafaam from League of Explorers, which was a high cost minion with high stats and gave you like they could discover a card that does the same effect basically as Cthulhu does, right? So like 10 mana, 10 damage, split amongst all enemies. And yeah, it's a pretty cool effect, pretty flashy, very powerful, of course. Game ending potentially. And yeah, of course you have to see how good those cards are that synergize with Cthulhu, because there are going to be multiple cards that gonna buff Cthulhu, and 2 of them we can see right here. There's Beckoner of Evil and Twilight Elder, and you can see those cards for their cost. Beckoner of Evil is the 2/3 for 2 mana, and Twilight Elder 3/4 for 3 mana. Those are pretty standard stats, and yeah, very powerful stats as well. It's not like yeah, I mean you saw minions like River Crocolisk, you saw minions like Spider Tank being played in constructed decks legitimately without having an effect. So yeah, Twilight Elder and Beckoner of Evil, of course, having those same stats, but also the positive effect that they buff your Cthulhu. And yeah, of course, that that kind of encourages you to build a deck around Cthulhu. And that's it definitely has a lot of potential. If we're going to see some rare cards or even epics that are even more powerful that can buff Cthulhu, because the Beckoner of Evil and Twilight Elder, as we can see, are commons. So obviously those effects are not as flashy, not as powerful maybe. If once we see more cards getting revealed, the potential of a possible Cthulhu deck in the future is going to be really strong. So I'm really looking forward to see that. I'm definitely going to try it out. Okay, so now this for the other 3 cards. Corrupted Healbot, Validated Doomsayer, and Polluted Order. Like, this is the corruption theme, as you can see. Cards like that have existed in the Hearthstone in the past. Doomsayer, of course, everyone knows him. Anti-Keelbot, everyone knows Loot Hoarder as well. So let's start off with Polluted Hoarder. It's like double everything, right? Except for the Death Rattle. So it was 4 mana, 4/2, draw a card on Death Rattle, which is decent, I suppose. It's not as powerful though. Like compared to Loot Hoarder, of course, you'd rather have the Loot Hoarder, I think, than the Polluted Hoarder. Just because, like, when you expect double of everything, right, you would also expect double of the card draw. But obviously that is not the case. So that makes Polluted Hoarder just strictly worse in terms of stats and value-wise. But yeah, Polluted Hoarder has okay stats for what it does, but it's not good enough. Like, you can compare it to Cult Master. Cult Master is going to draw you, has the same stats for its cost. It's going to draw you more cards potentially, and this makes Cult Master already objectively better. But Polluted Hoarder, yeah, I mean, even Cult Master is not seeing much play. It's a very niche card, and Polluted Hoarder I don't see much play at all. I mean, Loot Hoarder wasn't even being seen in main constructed decks. The only deck that Loot Hoarder was really played in was the Freeze Mage, and that's only because it was cheap card draw, right? Cheap card draw mixed with a little bit of board control. Polluted Horde doesn't fulfill that role. It's card draw, true, but it's not cheap. We've seen a card like Polluted Hoarder see play in Patron War, for example, or OTK Warrior. It was the Gnomish Inventor, which has this same effect, but it has better stats at least, because 4 health is a little bit more durable, it's not as easy to deal with, and you draw the card immediately, which is also better than having the card draw on Death Rattle. So expect Polluted Horde to not see any play at all. Next card, Corrupted Healbot. Death Rattle, restore 8 health to the enemy hero, 5 mana, 6/6. So obviously 5 mana, 6/6, you have the really good stats, and of course, if card is overstated for its cost, because usually if for 5 mana you would expect a 5/5 or a 4/6 or whatever. Yeah, Corrupted Healbot is overstated, so it has to have a drawback, and the drawback is of course healing the enemy hero on Death Rattle. However, as we all have seen in the past with Zombie Chow, for example, which has a similar effect, it can be used to your advantage if you combine it with Organized Seal Priest, for example. That is the kind of most obvious combination. So yeah, you restore health, and instead you deal damage. So 8 damage on Death Rattle seems pretty strong, I would say. I mean, sure, then again, it's only like 2 damage more than you would have had if you would attack face anyway, right? But sometimes you just throw it into a taunt when there's an Okanai on the board for you. You throw it into a taunt, suicide it into a taunt, and then, yeah, get huge value that way. I can see this card being played in priest decks mainly, but it also has the potential to find room in other decks, in other control, like mid-range to control type of decks. Sure, in control decks you would rather have taunts probably, but yeah, if there's going to be other taunts, and you don't really need a taunt in the 5 mana slot, then Corrupted Healbot is a nice fit, right? Because it don't really, if you play control or even like a slow mid-range deck, then you don't really care about your opponent gaining health. It's all about the board control maybe, and I can see Corrupted Healbot being played in other strategies as well, just because it has those 6 stats for 5 mana. It's very hard to deal with once you play it. 6 health is actually quite a lot. So yeah, Corrupted Healbot might be worth playing. We will see. And then the epic Validated Doomsayer. At the start of your turn, this minion's attack is set to 7. So you gotta wait a turn, just like you would with the old Doomsayer, to do something. And yeah, I don't like this card at all, to be honest. I mean, you can set up some pretty cool stuff with it. For example, like you play it and conceal it, for example, when you play it in a rogue deck, and then you can like set up a really big minion. But I doubt it's gonna be that good, honestly. Like if you're gonna conceal something, then you can conceal other stuff as well. I think that the Doomsayer is just, I don't know. I think actually it's overcosted, honestly. I think it could have cost 4, honestly. Because like then you compare it, I mean, sure, then it is a little bit strong because, like, let's say you play it on 4, then your opponent has like 4 damage, dealt 4 damage to it or whatever. He cannot deal more because of the stuff that he has on the board. It's not strong enough to kill it immediately. And then you have like a 7/3 attack, a 7/3 minion for 4 mana on your turn, which is not that strong anyway. It's like Ancient Shade, for example, is 7/4 for 4 mana, and it's not seeing any play either. I don't know. I mean, Validated Doomsayer, I might be wrong about this card, but from my first look at it, it just doesn't show any promise, and I doubt this card will be strong. But we shall see. Maybe someone can prove me wrong. So yeah, 6 cards. That's a small taste of things to come. I'm really looking forward to the new set. Really looking forward to play those Cthulhu decks. Really looking forward to see what those other cultists have in store for us, especially, and to see all those other corrupted cards. And of course, like, we gotta see those class cards, right? I mean, those are always the most flashy ones, because all the cards that have been revealed so far are neutrals. But yeah, it's a nice preview that was made by Blizzard yesterday, and I'm looking forward to see more. I'm really excited for the set. and for standard, of course, as well. So yeah, that's going to be it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you at the next review, of course.